Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So this is going to be a different message, certainly, kind of message in style and substance than was delivered maybe 100 years ago. But I do want to start by saying that in one very specific way, I am the worst parent there is. Here's what I mean, and I know that I should not do this, but I do half the time. If I tell my kids no, they can't do something, or if I tell my kids they have to do something that they don't want to do, sometimes, rather than yelling or pushing back, they'll do this thing that we call the smushy face, where they take their hands in their cute little face, and they just do this. And they look up at me with these adorable little eyes, and they just kind of follow me around. They say, they say, please. And they follow me around for a minute, for 2 minutes, for 10 minutes. And I break. Not all the time. But this morning, they asked for chocolate chips before breakfast. Lauren wasn't home. Smushy face. Speaking of Lauren, my wife, she has a soul of iron. She does not bend. She does not break. Her no is a no. Her has to is a has to. When Lauren says it, it's inevitable. And as I'm thinking about the inevitable, it is rare that a Torah portion as action-packed as Parshat Vayera, this week's Parsha, revolves around just one central theme. But this week's Torah portion does. And I want to talk to you tonight about what we do in the face of something that is inevitable. And I'm going to do something a little bit different than I do on Friday nights here at Washington Hebrew. Instead of unpacking one text, I'm going to unpack 3, all from this week's Torah portion. We're going to talk about Abraham and Sodom and Gomorrah. We're going to talk about Lot, who lives in Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham's nephew. And we're going to talk about Abraham and the binding of Isaac. So let's start at the top. In the beginning of this week's Parsha, we have Abraham and Sodom and Gomorrah. Just by a show of hands, anybody here been to Sodom and Gomorrah? You know why, right? It was destroyed. It was destroyed. And at the beginning of this week's, that was an honesty test. You all passed. At the beginning of the Parsha, it's inevitable. God actually begins by saying, should I tell Abraham what I am about to do? And when God says, I am about to do, the thing that God says is about to happen, happens. And so, when Abraham hears that God is going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, let me just take a step back. No one's been to Sodom and Gomorrah. Anybody here been to Las Vegas? Terrific, a couple of hands. So if you were to be a little bit judgmental and a little bit Alabama puritanical, which I am in some small dose, Las Vegas is not a place you want to spend time in. Sodom and Gomorrah is this like crystallized form of Las Vegas, and God says, I'm going to destroy it. Abraham, when he hears that God is going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, that it is inevitable, what does Abraham do? Before we even go there, I want you to take your most accusatory pointer finger. I need you to help me here. And I want you to point to someone next to you. Maybe you came here with, or maybe a perfect stranger, even better. And I want you to say, I'm doing this to Ryan, you. I want you to practice this. 1, 2, 3. Do it. You. I need you all to help me read the next biblical passage, because this is where Abraham speaks back to God. And I need, when I point, that's what I want you to say, all right? Here we go. Abraham came forward and said, will you, yes, sweep away the innocent along with the guilty? What if there should be 50 innocent within the city? Will you then wipe out the place and not forgive it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to bring death upon the innocent as well as the guilty. Far be it from you. Oh my God, that's Abraham talking to God. Could you imagine the world's first Jew talking to God in this way? And just to put this into perspective, could you imagine if you talked to your boss this way? For those of you who are working, right? Could you imagine, God forbid, you talk to your spouse this way? Could you imagine, some of you saying yeah, if you have teenagers, maybe they talk to you this way, but could you imagine talking to your kids this way? right? Could you imagine? I'm always interested in the day-to-day lives of people like Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un, right? Could you imagine walking into one of their offices and saying, do it with me? You! That's the last word you'll ever say. It's over. So how is it that Abraham can proverbially walk into God's office and go toe to metaphorical toe with not just a powerful person, because God's not a person, but the source of all power itself? That's chutzpah. You know chutzpah? So what's chutzpah? Right, it's guts. It's audacity. It's gusto. It's courage. It's courage. Chutzpah comes to define the first main encounter that Abraham has with God. It's chutzpah. It's chutzpah. When God invites Abraham into the conversation, that's where chutzpah comes in. But chutzpah looks differently when we get to Lot. Because sometimes in the face of the inevitable, we are not invited into the conversation. In fact, we find out about it after the inevitable is already on its way. And that's what happens with Lot. So Lot is living, this is Abraham's nephew. Lot is living in Sodom and Gomorrah. He's there on the ground. Has anybody here seen a hurricane or huge storm system or tornado come their way? We got a couple of you. So I want you to imagine in your mind's eye that you are standing in the most technologically advanced city on the planet, and you're looking up, and there's a storm cloud far away, and it's big, and it's angry, and it's swirling. But instead of swirling with water, it's swirling with fire. And that fireball is hurtling towards you at 1,000 miles an hour. That's Lot standing on the ground in Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, there are 3 angels also with him. I'll spare you the story, other than to say, the angels are almost like an advanced weather alert in a time when those did not exist. And they tell Lot, look at that storm. That's coming straight your way. Lot and family, get out of here. Get out of Sodom and Gomorrah as quickly as you can. And then, in the next verse, it says that Lot, at dawn, essentially woke up in Sodom and Gomorrah, which means that Lot spent the night in a place that was going to be destroyed. And then the next verse, the angels say, Lot, get out of here. And still, the Bible says, still Lot delayed. Lot delays leaving Sodom and Gomorrah so long that the angel had to take Lot by the hand and drag him out. So why does Lot stay in Sodom and Gomorrah? And it's because when you can't go toe to toe with power, you can at least delay the inevitable. Lot knew that so long as he was in Sodom, the inevitable could not come to be. He stood there as long as he could. And sometimes there's nowhere for you to stand. Sometimes when you're faced with the inevitable, there's nothing you can do. And that's at the end of our parsha, with Abraham and the binding of Isaac. This is a very well-known story. If you've ever celebrated Rosh Hashanah, you've heard this story before, where God commands Abraham to take his son, his beloved son Isaac, and to offer him as a sacrifice atop of a mountain that God will show him. Abraham packs up the next day, and then the following verse says, on the 3rd day. On the 3rd day, Abraham and Isaac arrive at this terrible spot on the 3rd day. And what our rabbis point out, this is not my own observation, what our rabbis point out is that in the beginning of this terrible moment, time goes by in a flash. We have the beginning of the journey and then 3 days later. And then when the moment of the inevitable comes, Abraham slows it down. I want to read to you what happens during the actual binding. In verse 9, our Torah teaches that they, Abraham and Isaac, arrived at the place which God had told him. Abraham built an altar. He laid out the wood. He bound his son Isaac. He laid him on the altar, on top of the wood. And Abraham picked up the knife to slay his son. Do you see how time just stops? So when Abraham cannot say anything, when Abraham cannot prevent the inevitable, you can at least slow the inevitable down. And when you slow the inevitable down enough, what I want to tell you is the end of the Akedah, is that the inevitable might not be as inevitable as you think it is. As you all know, Isaac is not sacrificed. God rescinds this decree, and the Jewish people lives on. And I want to talk about the inevitable tonight as we wrap up, because we are in the midst of, depending on your politics and your personal situation, a great many inevitables. It feels like no matter how you voted, we're going in a direction that is a difficult place to see. No matter how you voted. And by the way, maybe you're checking out of the news, in which case, oh, I'm jealous. But you've got an inevitable or two in your life. Maybe there's an inevitable health moment that you are going to have to deal with at some point coming down. Maybe if you're working and things are not going well, you see the writing on the wall with your work. Maybe you're in a relationship, inevitable, with a parent, with a spouse, with a child, God forbid. Maybe there is an inevitable coming your way. And so what I want to share about inevitables as we wrap up is that for Jews, an end is not the end. For Jews, an end is not the end. The only thing that we can know for sure about the Jewish future is that the Jewish future ends in one thing and one thing only, and that is redemption. That the story is not done until redemption comes. Now, let me tell you the secret about Jewish redemption. It is not going to come from someone on high coming on down and saving us from our mess. Redemption comes for us as Jews when we do what needs to be done. And sometimes that means standing toe-to-toe against power itself. Sometimes that means standing as long as you can in the way of the inevitable coming towards you. And sometimes it means slowing it down for as long as you can. And I say this because in moments where it feels like the inevitable is coming, there is always, 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 always something that you can do. There is always something that you can do until the end of Jewish time, until you and I bring about redemption. Shabbat shalom. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. So I want to take a moment. And honor those who have done not a small thing, but a great thing with their lives. As you all know, this is our Shabbat where we are honoring our veterans. And so I would like to take a moment and call up our veterans here in the congregation. If you have served in our armed forces, to please come forward. I'd like to share a blessing on your behalf in front of our ark. Wow. Fantastic. Come forward, please. I'm going to ask you to stand right here.
You can come this way and
Look at this. This is something. Come on forward. If you could face me, if you don't mind. If you could face me, I want to bless you. Come on forward, please. Look at this. Look at this. Round of applause, first of all. I want to read a blessing, and then I want to bless you. Compassionate God, source of mercy, we pay tribute to those who have served our country and express our gratitude for their courage and selflessness, both those among us today and those of generations past. This nation, built by those born of the soil and those who could have come here from all corners of the earth, is on a continual journey towards its destiny. May we never let down those who have served in defense of this country. May we uphold the values of freedom, of the inherent dignity of every human being, by our own right conduct, by the kindness and tolerance we show one another. May we lead the world by example and become, in the words of Isaiah, a light to the nations. Then will the labors and sacrifices of these veterans be honored not in words alone, but by our deeds. It is hard for me to know even how to thank each of you. I will speak not on behalf of our country. Who am I to say that? I'm not going to speak on behalf of the Jewish people. I'm not going to speak on behalf of even Washington Hebrew or the clergy team. I'm just going to speak on behalf of myself. And I want to say thank you. We live in the most incredible country on earth, defended year after year and generation after generation by those who put their lives on the line to fight for our values, to defend us, to defend our country. And we will continue to be the nation that we are because of those who follow in your footsteps. You have given our country an incredible gift. You've given me and my children an incredible gift to live and to grow in freedom and strength and in prosperity. It is thanks to you. And so personally, I want to thank you for everything that you've done and for the inspiration that you bring to our congregation, to our country, and to the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So we all have the Armed Forces salute in our packet. I'll leave it to you all. Would you like to stay up here for the Armed Forces salute, or you want to make your way back to your seats?
Sit. Okay.
All right, I saw both. So if you want to stay, stay. If you want to go back to your seat, have a seat, whatever's more comfortable. Everyone else can have a seat, because of course the tradition is that when we come to the song that is for each branch of the military, those who served will stand. And so we'll get to see which branch these honorable men all served in. So, and if you want to stay, stay. You can stay. You can come
I'll
join
stay next
me.
to you, buddy.
If you
I'll
want to
stay
stay,
next to you.
come
I'll stay
join
next to you.
us.
I'll
Here we
stay next
go.
Sing with us.
Come forward. Here we go.
Beautiful, beautiful.
All right, so we join together. Everybody turn. You have the lyrics in front of you. This is my favorite thing I do. Well, it's not my most favorite thing I do all year, but it's up there. It's very close to the most favorite thing I do all year. All right, here we go. Ready? Let's do it.
Army, stand up, stay standing, because we're starting with you.
Fight for the right and to build a nation right, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. And it's high, high ahead, the army's on its way. Cantors, the cadence loud and strong. For wherever you go,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And as our veterans are taking their seats, I want to share for all of the Jewish war veterans who are here. We are represented also, Chuck and Joel, two men currently wearing hats, who are representing the Jewish War Veterans Association, which is the oldest veterans association there is, founded, in fact, to fight anti-Semitism. And so if you are a Jewish war veteran and you want to know more about this incredible society, I hope you'll reach out.